Something else that's important is and it's disturbing because it's really kind of metastasized over the last few weeks, especially with Congressman Maxine Waters, who last weekend, or the week before last, was addressing a rally in Los Angeles, and she called on that crowd and her allies generally to basically provide, to engage in riot, intimidation, harassment, violent assault against members of the Trump cabinet. And you can go on YouTube, and we have the links available on our website showing exactly what she said. And she said, if you see a cabinet official in a restaurant, in a department store, at a gas station, you get out, you get a crowd together, and you push back and let them know they are not welcome anywhere, anytime. And then later she said, you bet you we're going to want to harass these people. Now, when a member of Congress incites violence, and that's violence, that's, quote, pushback is violence. Just think you're at a gas station, fueling up, and a crowd on this private piece of property starts confronting you. That's kind of riot. It's necessarily assault, which is also a crime, and it's inherently violent. And what is the House of Representatives going to do about this? You know, we filed a complaint, I told you about this, and I want to follow up on it because I think it's important that you participate in this process as well. We filed a complaint with the House Ethics body, the Office of Congressional Ethics, and then later it would be taken up, if appropriate, by the House Ethics Committee. But this is a matter for the whole House as well. We filed a complaint against Maxine Waters for inciting violence. And the complaint was filed, and the question is, what's going to happen next? Well, in my experience, they won't do anything unless you contact them. Meaning you should let your members of the Congress know, your elected representatives, not your senators, but those who represent you in the House, know that they think what Maxine Waters did was terrible, and the House should take a stand against it. That they should not allow a House member to use their position to incite violence on other government officials, specifically Trump cabinet officials. The #1 rule of the House is that members should act in a way at all times that reflects credibly on the House of Representatives. Does Maxine Waters inciting violence, riot, and assault targeting Trump cabinet members reflect credibly on the House? So the choices are, they can do nothing. They can reprimand her, which would be a slap on the wrist, censure her, which would be more significant, but still a slap on the wrist, or they could expel her. Yes. Any House member can be thrown out by the House in its entirety if their conduct is bad enough, egregious enough. So I encourage you to call your House members. You can find who your House member is online. You know, if you don't know who your House member is, I'm not going to yell at you about it. Just look it up. Just call, or call the House Capitol office. Excuse me. Call the House at 224-3121. That's 202-224-3121, and let them know what you think about whether Maxine Waters acted in a way that reflects credibly on the House of Representatives in calling on people to get crowds together and push back on members of the Trump cabinet as they try to eat, get gas, maybe take their kids to school, get the basic necessities of life. You know, and as I said, there's this virus going around among the left who are frustrated because they're losing. And those of you who are conservatives, you know sometimes it's frustrating because you lose too politically. But when you lose, you don't engage in violence. So they're going to lose the Supreme Court nomination fight. Is that going to justify violence? They don't like what ICE is doing, so they're publishing the names of ICE law enforcement personnel online in a way as to make put them and their families at risk. I see an ICE office was attacked. I see you had lawlessness up in New York this week, where you had an immigrant who's now a naturalized U.S. citizen climb the Statue of Liberty, putting herself at risk and the law enforcement at risk and trying to get her down safely. And just recently, just the other day, and if you haven't seen the video, you should look at it. There were these two kids sitting in a Whataburger at Texas. One of them was wearing a MAGA hat, Make America Great hat, which is the kind of the Trump slogan. It's the red MAGA. Some thug went and took it off ripped it off his head, said terrible things to him, and said he was going to throw the hat in the fireplace and walked out with it. And you know, and this teenager, 16-year-old boy, he and his friend are sitting there shocked. Thankfully, he was arrested. I mean, you're going to see this, and you watch the video if you haven't already, because you're going to be pretty darn upset. You know, targeting a young boy, a young teenager. You know, I have a feeling this guy wouldn't target someone like me. It's funny how they go after the weak. It's no surprise. But this is a sort of violence. Why would we have to worry about showing support for a politician that you like in public? You know, one of the dirty little secrets here, it's the left has always behaved like this. I've lived in Washington, D.C. longer than I will admit to. And one of the things you know, if you put a bumper sticker that has conservative thought on it or a conservative politician on it, your car is likely to be vandalized. And it didn't just start happening yesterday. It's been the case for years here in Washington, D.C. Because Washington, D.C. is basically a liberal area politically, and has a lot of liberal activists because we're the nation's capital, more specifically. Now, I know not all liberals are violent, but there's this nasty crowd in the leftist movement that is violent. And the politicians like Maxine Waters feed off of that, encourage it, implicitly endorse it, use it as a threat against others who are sensible to get them to do what they want them to do. Just think of the leftist motto, no justice, no peace. That implicit threat of violence. And this kid who was assaulted by this thug, you know, God bless him, because his response was, I support my president, and if you don't, let's have a conversation about it instead of ripping my hat off. I just think a conversation about politics is more productive for the entire whole rather than taking my hat and yelling subjective words at me. You know, I don't know who this kid's parents are, but God bless him, and God bless him for responding with such maturity and grace in the face of this violent attack, which is what I encourage everyone to do. I mean, you defend yourself if necessary, but I mean, what a dangerous situation we're in. And politicians like Maxine Waters need to be held accountable for inciting this type of behavior.